Hello, I'm Gia Mills, and welcome to True Reflections, the beauty podcast where I get my guests to reflect on how they feel about their physical appearance and what really lies beneath the surface. Don't forget to follow us wherever you're watching or listening or on social media. You can find us on True Reflections Podcast. So, today, who is with me? My guest today is a chef, he's a TikToker, and he's here to talk about his journey with vitiligo and his work with Maple from Canada, UK. So, as he marks his 20-year anniversary since becoming a runner-up at MasterChef, please welcome to True Reflections, Dean Edwards.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. My pleasure. I can't believe it's 20 years since MasterChef.
I
No,
bet you've done lots of podcasts on cooking, but I bet you haven't done any on sort of beauty and appearance before.
no, this is definitely a first.
But I say yes, but I think it's really important. So I interview a lot of women, and we're actually have done a lot more men, and I think it's just as important for men to share their stories because it's very much focused often on women. But men, when they can open up about their journeys on how they feel about how they look and, any physical things that have happened to them, I think it's a really good thing to generally share the stories, and people don't feel so isolated. And I think men feel more isolated and alone in all the the sort of male areas than women do.
Yeah, do you know what? It's something that I feel very strongly about, and that might surprise you. So I have a condition called vitiligo, which
Um,
basically it's an autoimmune condition where my my body basically is killing off the pigment in my skin. So I get left with white patches. So I can never not remember having it. And so growing up with a visible difference was something that I found incredibly tough, actually. And it took me many, many years to actually become comfortable with myself in terms of not actually hiding it. So I think it's definitely a subject that really needs to be spoken about. Not just that, but visible differences, because there's a lot more education out there now. And I see a lot of people on social media who are bringing awareness to various conditions. And these conditions can really affect people and affect their mental health. So the more people that speak about it, the better.
what would you say to your younger self when you were in your probably the times you were most struggling, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I mean, the school days were pretty tough, to be honest.
Mm.
And anything that makes you different from other people can 100% make yourself a target. Now, I was quite lucky, even though I was pretty painfully shy back in the day. Um,
Can't
I
believe.
No, do you know what? It's madness because I had a real issue with shyness and confidence, and even on my MasterChef days, I watched the series again recently with my daughter Indy, who's 16,
Mm.
and she'd never seen it before, and actually she spent the whole time laughing, basically taking the mickey out of me because she was like, "Oh my god," because it's quite old TV. She couldn't believe the way that I looked back then and stuff like that. But I watched it, and actually I was like, "Oh my god," I could visibly see how uncomfortable and unconfident and shy I actually was, even at that point in my life. So I've definitely been on a journey, but now I find myself in a place where I actually, I think I love the condition. It's just something that makes me completely unique, and that would be the thing that I would tell my younger self to to just love yourself, because I think the things that make us unique are incredible, and it really kind of stunted my confidence back in the day, and I think maybe that was a catalyst for the way that I kind of felt about myself. So when all these years later, I find myself in the position that I am now, where I can be honest and open with myself and with other people. I would love to have been able to instill that confidence in myself all those years ago. And, it probably would have made my life a lot easier.
How was it? I guess things like dating and meeting girls and that kind of stuff. Did it
Um, I don't think it sort of hindered me in that respect. I just think it was the thing that I kind of struggled with was probably more in school. You know, you get the usual kind of name calling and stuff like that. And I think the biggest thing for me and social media in terms of my life has been kind of almost like a blessing and a curse, if that makes sense. So when I started to appear on TV, rather than spending time answering questions, you know, through social media, I mean, the comments were crazy at some points. You know, it'd be like, oh, the chef's washed the fake tan off his hands, and you know, and instead of having to deal with those comments, I basically covered up. So I was on breakfast TV for 10 years, and every single one of those shows I covered up. And I remember the makeup artist going, just
Your hands.
my hands, my face. Part of the reason why I grew the beard was I probably now, you probably can't see it too much because
No,
we're in the midst of winter, but I would say probably 70% of my face has vitiligo coverage now. Most of it under my beard. If I zoom right in, you can probably see I got a nice little stripe through my forehead, and so
okay.
in the summer when I tan,
Mm.
it's very visible. I don't know whether you can kind of see it on my hands. So
Yeah,
that's my natural skin tone up, and it looks like I've got a pair of white gloves on, to be honest. But for many years, I
it's
hid
a,
it, and yeah, and I thought that was the right thing to do, and now I know it was the wrong thing to do because I just needed to accept who I was, what I was, but I just felt so kind of conscious of it because, especially with cooking, the camera was always zooming into my hands,
yeah.
cutting and flipping pans and stuff like that. So I just thought rather than engage in the conversation, I hide it and there's no questions to be asked. And, you know, to me now, looking back, that was probably a silly thing to do.
I don't, first of all, I wouldn't beat yourself up. I definitely don't beat yourself up because I think the culture was very different then. You know, you haven't had, there's certain people who have pioneered, whether it's the vitiligo, the Winnie Harlow's, etc. And
Yes.
they have really stood up. But I think probably when you started, it wasn't talked about. It wasn't, you know, everyone's diversity, all the things that make us unique and who we are. It wasn't as accepted in the media to do that. So there's absolutely no reason why you would not have been wanting to hide it. And so we should never beat ourselves up. But what's good now, and I think it's really, it must, how does it feel when you just acknowledge what and talk about it and show it and just go, this is me? What does that feel like?
It changed my life, actually. I think it was about 2018
Mm,
when I stopped hiding my vitiligo. And I was lucky enough to be part of a campaign by an incredible photographer called Brock Elbank,
mm,
who has done many, many series of beautiful images on basically people with visible differences. That could be scars, burns, vitiligo, freckles. You know, it just some incredible campaigns. And he was doing a vitiligo campaign, and I saw some of his work. I was like, oh, I need to be part of this because I wanted to document it for myself. And he said, okay, well, if you do it, you've got to shave your beard. And I'm like, ooh, okay. It's starting to get real now. You know, I have to really lay myself bare. And I decided to do it and I bit the bullet. And as soon as he released that image, I thought there's no going back.
mm.
And I was in the open then. And I thought, well, this is the time I need to embrace it and actually help others. And I think, in terms of the way I felt about myself, I think doing that shoot with Brock really did change my life because I became confident about my condition, if that makes sense. And I've never looked back. And now I really try to use my platform to inspire others to hopefully feel the same way as I do about my condition now. Because I think once you start to accept the things that make you different, life does get a lot easier. It really, really does.
Into your issues. You know, if you get up in the morning, we've got our little rucksacks, I sometimes call it. and you pack your rucksack with like, oh, I'm worried about this, or this is stressing me out, or that's what I'm worried about, money issues or whatever, and you're packing your rucksack and the day gets heavy. But if you've got that one thing that's actually quite a heavy one that you can actually take out, I guess you can just feel lighter.
Yeah, 100%. And funny enough, off the back of doing that shoot with Brock and knowing how much it changed my life, my dad back in 2009 had a really serious accident at work where he was left with incredibly severe burns. And, he was in a coma for months, and his visible appearance changed overnight and will never be the same again. And he struggled so much with it, and I'm talking what I was dealing with, a drop in the ocean, up to what my dad was dealing with, both physically and mentally. And Brock went on to do a series of images about burns and scars. And I encouraged my dad. I said, Dad, you need to go and do this. I know what it did for me. And he was like, I can't, And honestly, that image of my dad, he finally went for it, is an image that I will treasure forever. And that changed his life as well. And I just think it's about accepting who you are. It can really make a big difference in life.
And also, I think, first of all, congratulations on that, because it's funny how history sort of repeats itself in that sense that, he went through it, you've gone through it, but you found a solution to it and you've helped bring him along that path. So that must feel really good to kind of go, look, we're all right, Dad. That's so powerful. But also, I think people don't, you talk about vitiligo. I think a lot of people don't, you probably all these things, we're all more conscious of ourselves than other people necessarily are. They don't see the nuanced things that we see. I'm getting older. I'm like, oh God, I'm seeing this and that's changing and that's different. And you panic. And often people just don't see it. They just see you, the energy, the everything else that surrounds you that makes up the whole sum. And I know that men particularly find it difficult to talk about these sorts of things. So I laud you for doing that and dragging your dad into it, into it too.
Yeah. But I think it made such a difference for me. And I know generally I can't talk for all males, but I know a lot of people struggle to talk about their issues. There's definitely a problem with people admitting that they're feeling a certain way, or they're up or down, and I know in the past I've bottled up lots and lots of emotions, and I think it's just as you get older you get wiser.
Yeah.
And you learn. Actually, what you said just a minute ago really sort of resonates with me. I don't think people really were looking into my condition as much as I was. Probably not noticed. You get a few odd looks from people, or people will be genuinely inquisitive. What's that on your hands? Why does that look like that? And actually, it's all about education. And when I said earlier about social media being a blessing and a curse, actually, it's a blessing because it's a platform where people can actually showcase who they are and be open and honest some of the time, I guess. But there's definitely a community that I found on there with people with vitiligo and conditions like that. It could be psoriasis, scars, whatever it may be. And there's a lot of support out there. And there's a lot of positivity as well as the negative aspects. But whilst I'm on it, I probably do have to speak about another thing that I'm seeing lots and lots on social media at the moment is AI generated content of people who are showcasing conditions like vitiligo and scars and burns and birthmarks for clout. And I find it really hard to kind of see some of this stuff because these accounts are generating thousands and thousands of followers and hundreds of thousands of likes. And I'm like, I even got sucked in by a couple of accounts. I'm like, I'm going to follow and be positive and show love and everything like that. And actually, it dawned on me, these accounts weren't even real. So I'm finding it a little bit tricky at the moment on social media because one, I don't know what to believe. And two, I can see other people getting sucked in. And the people that are running these accounts are using conditions.
Are they selling something, or are they?
Well, I think
I
I
love it.
think at the moment, because most of these accounts, and there's an easy way to spot them, not many of them have any history past December 2025. Okay,
Mm.
when certain AI generator tools were made available. So you can kind of spot them if you go back in history. But after a while, these accounts will be big enough to start generating money. And that's what worries me. And these people running these accounts have never lived a day in the life of someone who has lived with a visible difference or a condition that affects their life and mental health on a daily basis. So I think that's what I'm struggling with, and I'm really trying to raise awareness for that at the moment, for people to start showing love to people who actually live in day to day with these issues, rather than these AI generated kind of
I mean, the
content
AI,
creators.
I have so many people on the podcast talking about certain issues that they've got. We've had quite a few, Georgia May Foote and a few others have been on the show talking about vitiligo, people about hair, men about sort of hair loss and all sorts of stuff. And it's just talking about it. And it's going, God, I'm not the only bloody person. If I'm not the only person,
Yeah.
I feel better. I'm part of a tribe. Let's celebrate that. And I think it's
What?
absolutely, and but I also love the fact that you've got daughters and you were a single dad for a bit. What do you tell your daughter about growing up and a physical appearance, etc.? What are you telling her being a female?
Well, I've got two very, very different circumstances. So I've
Mm.
got a daughter who's going to be 17 this year, and I've also got a 2-year-old. So
Oh,
I don't know which one's harder work, to be totally honest with you. But so I'm dealing with two very, very different stages of emotional development,
yeah. Very nice.
which is crazy. I'm like that. Wow. How did I get to this point in my life? But it's having daughters is an absolute blessing. But I do know that appearance seems to be maybe more conscious in females than males, and um, I've just really tried to speak to Indy, my eldest, just about loving herself, regardless of the way that she looks, the way that she feels. But the most important thing is I've tried to instill in her, and I will in my other daughter, Ophelia, instill confidence, because that's something that I struggled with. And I think it really, really held me back for a long, long time. And it was only about, I would say, 10, 12 years ago that I really got a grip on it. And that's the thing that I need to instill in them growing up. It's not about the way that you look, it's about the way you feel.
And it's about your energy, and attractiveness is way more than just the skin deep. However, the skin deep matters too. And it's knowing where to place those two things in a level of importance. It's a lovely thing, dads having that appreciation, because I don't think in my generation and possibly yours, because they're quite similar in age, there wasn't people didn't lean into that as much.
No, I think you're right. And my biggest worry for my daughters is the social media kind of thing, because you're almost being judged on a daily basis, and you're living up to, or you're trying to live up to, expectations of what people think of you. And
Mm.
when people are hiding behind a social media account, there's they don't worry what they're saying. There's no filter, and they almost feel like you are free and able to say whatever you want, whenever you want, to whoever you want. And to me, that's not right. I think we should be conscious. We should be very kind. And I do worry that social media is driving people to strive unrealistic goals. And that can be lifestyle, it can be looks, it can be confidence, it can be any matter of things. So I think it's key for me to keep a check on that, and speak to both my daughters. I mean, Ophelia's not on any social media at the moment, and won't be for many years. But Indy's she's knee deep in it. She's 16 years old, and she's discovering the world, and she's discovering friends, and she's growing up before my eyes. And it's important that I keep tabs on that and making sure that she's using social media correctly.
Well, you sound like a goodly, responsible dad, and I'm imagine you're a responsible dad feeding them well. So obviously, this week being Pancake Day week, you are helping to encourage people to get pancake making. Tell me about what your involvement is with that.
Okay, well, the thing for me, and I think cooking was start of my journey in terms of recovery. I cook because I love to do it. You know, it made me feel good. I
Mm.
love feeding people, and Pancake Week is something that I always look forward to every year because it's time that we can all have a bit of fun together. Because I don't think we should take it too seriously. You know, when it comes to food, and food's all about enjoyment. And I think for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I can't do this wrong. I can't mess this up. I think have a bit of fun with food, and Pancake Day is the perfect opportunity. So it's all about getting the family together and making up a batch of batter. And for me, I just go for nice UK style pancakes or crepes. I think that's the best way. That's what I grew up eating. And for me, food is all about nostalgia. So get the kids involved, get the wife involved. Who Liz, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but Liz is not the best cook in the world. Okay,
Bless you,
um,
Liz.
but she loves food. So, you know, I cook, Liz enjoys it. Well, I mean, Liz is left-handed as well. So, and she blames everything on being left-handed. So I don't know whether you need a right-handed or left-handed frying pan, but you know, I'm gonna
Oh,
give her a try. I'll give her a try in the kitchen. But I've got a few tips for Pancake Day.
okay. Tell me, tell
Okay,
me.
and the one thing that you people always struggle with is a recipe.
Mm.
So you know, we can find anything online these days. But if you remember the 1, 2, 3 pancake method, you're set to go. All right. So it's
Tell
a
me. Yeah,
100 grams of plain flour.
yeah.
So that's the one. 2 eggs. That's the two. And 300 ml of milk. Simple as that. 3 ingredients. And then you just make your batter. Okay. Really, really dead simple. Make it about an hour before because resting the batter can really, really help. It allows the flour to absorb the moisture so you'll get really nice light pancakes. They are such an amazing vehicle for lots of different flavors, aren't they? And some people like sweet, some people like savory. And we were talking about Bristol earlier on, and there used to be a pancake restaurant. And I remember going down there once, and I had a chicken tikka pancake. It was lush, you know. So we
That's
shouldn't just think about pancakes in terms of being just the sweet. Let's go for a bit of savory as well. But for me, I love the classic combination of sweet and sour. So lemon juice is always great to add that acidity. But for me, my favorite topping, pure Canadian maple syrup. I think that together it just makes a perfect pancake topping.
and maple syrup is actually people. It's a very good healthy. It's not. It's a lot better for you than like the sort of golden syrups and stuff. It's a really lovely natural based product.
Well, I actually was lucky enough last year to go to Canada, and we went to Montreal
Mm.
to go and see how maple syrup was actually made. And it was life changing because I think a lot of us have misconceptions on how certain ingredients are made. And I just stupidly, back in the day, always just assumed, you know, I'm thinking old school that they've got these little kind of metal taps into the tree and the maple syrup comes out. But actually, it's not. It's nothing even like that. I'm like, when I went there, I was completely blown away. And I'll generalize it very quickly for you. They get such a fluctuation in temperature in that part of the world. The maple trees overnight, they suck up water out of the ground to
Mm.
protect themselves. And in the day when the temperature goes back up, they let it back out. And at that point is when they tap the trees. And what comes out isn't syrup, it's water.
Mm.
It's the water they've sucked out. And it's basically just boiled down. And that is what becomes maple syrup. So it is such an incredibly pure product. It's absolutely unbelievable. And it has that beautiful, rich flavor. Got lots of minerals in it as well. And I just think whenever you're cooking, the more natural the product, the better it is for you. And I mean, on top of that, it tastes bloody lovely. I
Yeah.
think we lead such busy lives these days that I think this is just a wicked opportunity to bring the family together. So get a big batch of the batter done, get your ingredients, your toppings, your maple syrup ready to go. You can all have a little go.
Are you
And
morning,
then,
morning or evening?
I think it's an early evening kind of thing for me, because that's how I remember it. When we used to get back from school, that was
Yeah.
pancake time.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean by that? It was just that was the best time for a pancake.
it's a beautiful thing, and I will be thinking of you when I'm making my pancakes and remembering that 1, 2, 3 point, which is always very handy. And thank you for sharing your story as well about vitiligo. It's absolutely, it's really important to be getting that message out. So thank you very much, Dean Edwards and to Maple from Canada, UK. That's it for True Reflections this week. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. You can find me across your social media by searching at True Reflections Podcast. You can also explore my Skin and Motion cosmetics range to help boost your confidence at skin.in.motion. I'll be back next week with another celebrity to talk through their beauty experiences, their favourite products, and delve deeper into how the ideals of beauty shapes not just our physical appearance, but also the core of our identities. Until then, have a lovely week.